Well now, that last one was a triggered and angry mess, wasn't it? And here I thought Coyotes Sky would be happy to earn a place in the order. Yet all he gave us was pure drama and even more rather strange unfounded claims. On a more positive note, the following candidate for the order did kinda come in tow with him. And oh boy, this one has a lot of silly stuff on his channel. I've selected one of the videos they presented of the Lunar Eclipse last month, which I found most entertaining. A special thanks to Big Keg for making me endure this bloody video. Thanks for that. However, it has come to my attention that this new candidate is in fact a fellow Dutchman. So, shit's about to get real. Because this time around, the pride of our Kingdom of the Netherlands is at stake. For us to be able to cast him out of the kingdom as a jester, he has to make it to the required 33 silly points. Also, any dead air will be fast forwarded. And there's a lot of dead air. So, here he is, QNFee, or Q Network File Explorer, with an extra E thrown in there for good measure.
Hi people, ready for a mind spin? Past Lunar Eclipse, something came to my attention while I was watching some Lunar Eclipse footage. Here in Holland, we can observe the moon at the same time as in South Africa.
Completely overlooking the fact that the moonrise on that particular date in the Netherlands was around 9:30 in the evening. Not even mentioning it was still completely in the shadow of the Earth up to around 10 o'clock. And it was nearly invisible because of that light cloud cover we had. It actually became visible closer to 10:30, nearing 11 o'clock. This is really a bad start for you.
Here in Holland we are on GMT plus 2 hours. And this is Central European summertime. We share the same time. And we can observe the moon both at the same time.
Nope. We could only observe the last part of the eclipse, while people in South Africa could observe the entire eclipse. Just a heads up there, QNFee, this is going to bite you in the ass.
Only here are you upside down, and here you're straight up.
Wow. Even if I was going to be lenient here and use your own narrative about up and down on the globe, it doesn't even work in your favor.
And that's why you see the moon face different.
Irony.
While I was observing the lunar eclipse from June 27, I spotted something impossible. Let's have a look. Here in Holland, I saw the moon red and become white. And people here in South Africa saw a white moon that become red. That's impossible.
Deliberately excluding the fact that people in South Africa eventually saw the moon become white once more during its Earth Umbra Penumbra transition.
I'm going to explain you why. This is what I saw about in Holland. It was red and became white. And people in Africa had a white moon that become red. Don't hang me up on this model.
Oh, I will definitely have a go at your model here. Not about your 90-degree tilted moons and eclipse effects. It's perfectly fine you've aligned it to your Earth image, but the fact your moon is positioned in line with the equator, implying the northern hemisphere could actually see the entire eclipse. That's rather silly.
It's not about the model, it's about the color sequence.
Except it's not. It's about the actual time of these sequences and which part is visible to what location. And calling it a color sequence merely indicates to me you don't quite understand why it's going white, red, white, or even know it's going white, red, white.
Which is not correct on this model. I will explain you. So, South Africa, the moon was white and become red. And remember, we see it at the same time.
Here's a big fat hint. South Africa saw the white, red, white transition. And while that first part was going on, it was below the horizon from our perspective. Meaning the Netherlands only saw the red, white transition.
At the same moment. So here I flip this image and I also flip the moon, of course, to see the sequence. So let's play it. You see, both were red and become white.
Constantly repeating the same mistake is never going to amount to a valid conclusion. Also, I'm done having to repeatedly correct you over this bit that's going over your head.
But only the image is flipped. You're in the bottom of the ball, upside down. That's why we see the moon phases in different ways.
Irony. And here's why. This so-called upside down moon in the southern hemisphere is physically impossible on a flat Earth. And the moon phases are not the words you're looking for. You do recall this is a lunar eclipse, right?
So, if you don't understand it, I will simplify it. This traffic light goes from red, orange and green. Remember, red, orange and green. And now flip this over and remember the color sequence was red, orange and green. This don't change if you flip something over. You understand? So, can any smart ball earther explain me? Debunk this? Because it's impossible.
Holy hell. The Order of the Sillies is not supposed to be a proper debunk. It merely features strange people such as yourself making completely nonsensical claims not even worth the time for a proper debunk. However, I fear this shit is going to be beyond you lot if I do not address it with pretty pictures instead of doing the talky bit. Even though this is the most basic stuff about this subject, so don't worry, you should have no problems following along. Probably. Here's the moon. Ignore the orientation and direction of the shadow, because that's beside the point. However, do keep an eye on the animation at the top. So, this is basically what the people in South Africa saw, and while this was going on, the blood moon eventually popped up from behind the horizon in the Netherlands. Meaning, our eclipse started when the moon was already in the Umbra of the Earth's shadow, after which the moon made its Umbra-Penumbra transition, ergo going from red to white. So, as you can see, your conclusion is silly, your traffic light is silly, and you sir are frigging silly. I mean, it's clearly not impossible.
Yeah, people like Wolfie make dumb flat earthers even dumber.
The fact you lot are constantly denying any demonstrable evidence is actually what's making you dumber. Also, dumber is not the word you're looking for. You should use ignorant instead. And don't blame Wolfie for your own willful ignorance. There is such a thing as being responsible for your own damn actions.
But that piece of shit, yeah, don't show this.
Why would he show you something in the manner you're presenting it, when it's demonstrable false even at a first glance? And last I checked, Wolfie is more into that sexy thing called the scientific method. No amount of ad hominem attacks is going to change that.
Come here, Wolfie.
Ladies and gentlemen, Flat Earth Comedy, powered by the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Debunk this if you can.
Well, your joke completely backfires. You've already debunked yourself, and it does not seem Mr. Aldrin here is impressed with your request to debunk the already debunked.
Come here, Wolfie, explain us.
Wolfie is under no obligation to hold your hand in educating your blatantly ignorant ass. And just as a side note, the only reason I for one am doing this video is because you insult our Dutch pride with your arrogant ignorance. And seeing you defecate on the comment section of the previous video along with your buddy Coyotes Sky.
So-called smart ball earther. Shit.
Careful now, your immaturity is showing. Here's a public announcement. The rest of this video will be a continuous silly rant of self-declared victory by QNFee. Just a heads up, because he's going to show us how a true gentleman acts.
Why you don't have Lunar Eclipse footage, Wolfie?
Maybe, I don't know. He hasn't yet been able to witness one in Aussie land. And is there something wrong with the counters of Lunar Eclipse footage already out there? Why is Wolfie obligated to have it on his own channel?
Yeah, star trails are impossible in a ball. Because you should see horizontal straight lines. Idiot.
Translation of his gibberish. QNFee here is claiming that the southern hemisphere star trails when looking at the South Star should be straight instead of circular. A common misconception of the non-existent flat earth model, because it wouldn't fit otherwise. A bit suspicious, because usually they just deny the entire existence of the southern hemisphere.
And why the ESS have different sizes? Like 4 times different sizes in moon transit.
Oh, this is gonna be a doozy. Your buddy Coyotes Sky also brought this up and I slammed him for it in the comments. Having watched Wolfie's lunar ISS transit, it becomes quite clear he has different equipment which have different magnifications. If you would have actually bothered to check, you would see the moon is also a different size due to these different magnifications. So merely comparing the ISS size using this variety of footage, you first have to scale the footage correctly so the moon has the same size across all footage. After doing so, somehow as if by magic, the size of the ISS is eerily the same. Strange how that works. Furthermore, in the case of Wolfie's videos, we're dealing with footage taken at the same time, so the scaling up is applicable. However, the moon itself has an elliptical orbit, meaning it's not always the same size visually. You've probably never heard of the supermoon or the micromoon, right? Based on your conclusions. From this follows that footage taken throughout the entire year has to take into account the varying distance to the moon, and as such, the varying visual size. You cannot compare it one-on-one.
Yeah, you know how the eye works. 4 times smaller or bigger means 4 times the distance.
Whoa, did you just make sense? Although it's not exactly the eye itself, it's merely perspective doing its thing.
That's simple, that's your own science.
So you only use science when it works in your favor. However, your claim that it is his own science is really silly, because science doesn't have an owner or authority. Science merely is, not caring about opinions, feelings or ego. What was that neat saying again? Everyone is entitled to their own opinion, but not to their own facts?
Yeah, that's why we see the moon the same size as the sun. Because it's the sun is 400 times bigger and 400 times farther away.
Well, this is a rather strange surprise, actually accepting established science. I was of the understanding you lot think the sun and the moon are rather small and local bodies.
So, and this bullshit you prove works on a flat earth.
Actually, it does not. Wolfie conclusively demonstrated the equatorial telescope mount cannot physically work on a flat plane. To be quite honest, this rant of yours reeks of you being a troll, mostly because you accept or deny science when it suits your narrative, where the usual flat earther denies all science. I'm keeping my eye on your suspicious ass.
Yeah, explain my video to me. Yeah, why the color sequence is different. It's impossible on your spinning ball. Your head is spinning, idiot. Leaving my video.
Don't bother, Wolfie. No need to get in the mud with these cretins. This silly git basically debunks himself and then has the audacity to declare victory.
Retard. Bye bye, people.
Right. By the way, I know this lad was low-hanging fruit, but it is kind of what the Order of the Sillies is for to some extent. It does not discriminate, so to speak. The biggest bit of irony here is that with all the dead air I had to fast forward, his video runtime went down to only around 4 minutes. I basically gave him a hugely advantageous handicap. So being able to get up to 40 bloody silly points in this rather short amount of time is really impressive. Also, because the runtime of his video was quite a bit less, I'll multiply his score with 1.75, just for reference with other scores that weren't mostly dead air. This would place him at 70 silly points. I'm doing it as such because he already met the requirements and I simply refuse to be subjected to any more of his infuriating videos. So there's a good thing there's no need to add another 2 to 3 minutes of his utter horseshit from another video by him. QNFee, your arrogant and childish ass will be sentenced to be a jester in the Order of the Sillies, and henceforth you are outcast from the Kingdom of the Netherlands. Don't misunderstand. We love our self-deprecation and such, but arrogant willful ignorance is where we draw the line, so get the fuck out, you annoying dick flute. If you've actually made it this far, thanks for subscribing, liking and belling and all that jazz. Have a good one. Holy freaking hell. Never have I met such an annoying sounding, arrogant and ignorant fool. How these people even function.